All right, I do. I want to bring Patrice Luca into this argument here. And Patrice, if you'll indulge me, I had a chance to talk to Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar yesterday in Texas. He has been targeted by the so-called squad, these four freshmen, progressive congresswomen, and to be primaried because he's too moderate. He works too much with the president, and they don't like it. His reaction to that yesterday.
Well, certainly, I mean, it's this group called the Justice Democrats. I think they're not Democrats, quite honestly. They're socialists, and they want to impose their vision to Texas. And we certainly know that in Texas, our vision is very different from what this social, what I call this Justice Democrats, which are really socialists. They're not really Democrats.
What'd you make of that? I mean, he was not bearing a hatchet there.
No, he wasn't. But he's making an interesting point, which is that this squad is pushing the Democratic Party very far to the left, farther than a lot of moderates would be comfortable with. And it's going to be difficult for them to be elected in places like Texas, where over the past couple of years, I think Democrats have seen some pickup in areas like Austin. So, you know, hey, the more they tie Democrats to the Socialist Party, I think it's great because it presents a really great contrast of those who actually support free markets and capitalism versus those who want to redistribute everything we work so hard for and give it willy-nilly to everyone else. You know,
you always hear it gets to be a trite race, battling for the soul of the party, whether it's Republicans or they want to go far, far right, populist, or they want to be the Rockefeller-type Republicans. The Democrats are dealing with that themselves, and a lot of them have been talking about it. It began with Steny Hoyer. It continued with Nancy Pelosi saying, yes, these four congressmen won in their districts that are to be commended, their passion, their following on social media. But let's not forget the 36 others who came to the House were more of a moderate bent. And I think her message is that's how we're going to win.
Yeah, certainly 2018, the model for Democrats that worked were moderate candidates in swing districts, not giving the AOC socialist message. The problem, though, is it's not so easy for Nancy Pelosi to dismiss these new backbenchers because they've been so influential in Democratic politics. And
they get the media oxygen.
Well, and the Green New Deal, this endorsed by every Democrat senator running for president.
That's right.
So AOC is not speaking to a small group in Washington, although I think she speaks for very few people nationwide. She's very influential within the Congress.
You know, I invariably go back to markets, and if you'll just indulge me here on this, then I wonder, the closer we get to the election, and it looks like that is the winning message for Democrats, and then let's say it is continuing to poll well in a general election, Wall Street would fret over that, right? It's not a red or blue thing. They're worried about losing green.
Yeah, good line. Yes, they would. But think about a couple things. First of all, the healthcare stocks seem to have baked a lot of this in already.
Right.
The contrarians coming out saying time to buy healthcare. Also, think about how hard it was to pass the Affordable Care Act, right? Obama, pulled every string, barely made it across the finish line with what, frankly, is not a terribly radical healthcare plan in, the global scheme of things. Medicare for All is, at least for Americans. So the odds of that actually getting through the House and Senate, I think, are pretty slim. So I think Wall Street would recognize that.
Although a good many of them raised their hand when they talked about the candidates, about swapping with their own plan for that. Right?
Swapping their own plan, I'm sorry.
For a public alternative.
Oh, right, exactly.
Right. Patrice, could I ask you a little bit about that? You obviously with the Independent Women's Forum, and the argument is in that the president still has his core male voters, and they are, by and large, his base. It's not exclusively, but not so fortunate with women. And these comments, again, these are online polls. I don't want to put too much, a stake in them at this point, but that he is losing ground with women as a result. Not insurmountable, but notable. What do you think?
Well, I push back on that, Neil. I mean, when we look at the exit polling, we saw that he won women he lost women, only gaining about 42% of the female vote. But then when you look at 2018 and the results there, women went for Republicans by about 39%. So maybe 3% loss there.
Wait a minute. When you say women went, by what margin? The percentage of women who voted for Republican candidates in 2018, it was about 39%. It's not a versus
complete
how much was it for Democrats?
59%, something like that. So, I mean,
That's
certainly.
still a lot less.
That's still a lot less, but
Okay.
you're talking about it's not a perfect apples to apples comparison. But what I'm saying is that there is a strong core of support that supports President Trump, both on the economic issues, but also on immigration, also on foreign policy. And so, in suburban America, you do have some women who don't like the rhetoric that he uses and some of the language that he uses, but they do like his policies, and which is why I think the campaign is launching into this kind of going after women, because they recognize that if they can peel off enough of those votes and get them back, those women can make a difference in some of these swing states.
You know, and I always go back to whatever the difference in the sexes, when it comes to economic security, looking after their kids, they're pretty similar, aren't they?
Well, it's actually very interesting. If you look at who controls a lot of household spending, it disproportionately falls to women. A lot of studies have shown that. It's why marketers are desperately trying to get to the female household decision maker.
How did you know that my wife gives me an allowance?
The mind reading.
Brilliant.
So, you know, you said it earlier, it's the economy, stupid. So when it comes to moving into the election and cashing consumers' pockets, I think that's going to be a very powerful piece of the puzzle that voters, including women, including men of all genders, are going to be thinking about as they're thinking about how to cast their votes.
All right, guys, thank you for waiting around for that whole event, and you were very patient, and I know, you're getting worked on your laptop over here. Patrice, always a pleasure. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.